Hi folks, looks like I'm live. Jenny here, also known as New Uke New York on some parts of the internet. I am back with another one-take tutorial. This is my free and public tutorial series on ukulele. Today I'm on low G ukulele, but almost all of these songs work equally well or close to equally well on either high G or low G, whatever you've come with today. And with this series, I like to show how to play different arrangements that I've made on ukulele or how to approach different techniques. Sometimes I am fulfilling a request. I do have a page over on Patreon where I have people who are supporting me on a monthly basis, and I definitely try to fulfill those requests, and then as many of the general YouTube and Instagram kinds of requests as I get as well. So there's a song that you want to learn that I've arranged, please let me know. And whether or not you come over to Patreon, thanks for being here, and thank you to all my patrons who make it possible for me to make more videos like this. So today is the last day of January, and I want to do one of these tutorials once a month whenever I can. So I'm coming in hot, coming in late with a tutorial just before the month is over, and I thought it might be interesting to pick one of my most requested songs in the free public play-along jams that I do every month. Every month I try to do 4 free online play-alongs for anybody to join. You don't need to be one of my Patreon patrons. I try to do 2 more mixed level, 2 more beginner friendly, and I have 2 different songbooks. I add songs pretty frequently to both, and I really enjoy doing these jams. In fact, if you watch this on the last day of January, there's one tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Depending on when you watch this, you could join that. It's one of the beginner friendly ones where my patrons are with me on Zoom and everybody else can join on YouTube to play along and make requests in the chat. All of those public play-alongs that are beginner-friendly also stay up on YouTube, so you can always look at older ones as well. So those have, as I said, 2 different songbooks, and this year I did a year-in-review post that's public and free to look at over on Patreon, where I determined what our most played songs were over the past year. And the most requested songs. I do make requests myself, so I may throw the numbers off a little bit from time to time. But most of these are songs that other people are requesting. And there were 3 that came up as most requested when I put both types of jams together, the beginner and the mixed level. And there are some songs that are in both songbooks, so it makes sense we'd have some overlap. And the 3 songs were Wildflowers by Dolly Parton, they were Horse with No Name by America, and the third one, I just blanked on it. The third one is Fields of Gold by Sting. And I've already done a tutorial on Wildflowers, which I love, and I thought, well, why don't I do tutorials on the other 2? So I'm going to do one on A Horse with No Name, that's this tutorial for anybody, and then for my patrons I will do a Fields of Gold tutorial as well. That'll include both picking and strumming versions for that. So I'm here to do a ukulele tutorial for A Horse with No Name by Dewey Bunnell. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it looks like it would be pronounced Bunnell, of the band America. 1971 song. This one is really popular, and it's so interesting to me that this is so popular. I did not grow up listening to this song. I know if you did, that puts it in a whole nother sort of nostalgic light. But the reason that I find it so interesting that this one gets requested over and over again in both the beginner play-along, especially in beginner play-alongs, but also in the mixed level one, is because it does very little with the melody. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I think it's really cool how almost flat the melody line is. It doesn't have these like leaps and soars and dips and scoops that a lot of songs have, and so it is definitely catchy and definitely singable, but the melody stays almost on one note. It goes up and down a little bit, but it's pretty interesting. Very repetitive, very almost monotone melody, but people love it. The other thing that I think makes people love it is that it can be simplified pretty well. So it works for beginner play-alongs, and it works for people to play in more advanced ways. So I'm going to show it to you the way that I have it in my songbook and how I also talk about it. We're going to look at a couple ways you can simplify it, and then ways that you could maybe transpose it if you want to simplify it even more, meaning change the key to make it even easier to play. And I'll talk about why that's not the version that's in my songbook. And then also some things that you can add to it if you want to kind of bump up the level a little bit or just make it more interesting for yourself if this is too easy for you. So if you've never watched one of these before, I'm going to use the same format I normally do, so you'll kind of know the lay of the land after this one. And if you've watched these before, you'll be familiar with this format already. If you do happen to come by live when I'm filming one of these, you can always say hi in the chat. I don't go in and do a lot of editing on these afterward. I just am not a video editor, and I don't have the time. I have a bunch of day jobs that I do to pay my rent. So ukulele is my favorite thing to do, and I'm sneaking it in wherever I can. And obviously Patreon support helps with that too. But you know, these are not edited at all. So you will also see me make mistakes and figure things out. I think that's part of learning though. So it's probably good that I have to leave those in. Let me put the chords up on the screen, and at the same time I'll tell you that you can get these chords for yourself for free on a PDF in the Patreon post that is linked in the YouTube description box, and also some of you may have come here from Patreon. It's attached to that post, and this is what it looks like. And if you want to have it on your end, that would be a good idea, probably because I will not always put this up on the screen, because my picture obviously and my ukulele is very small when I have this up on the screen, and so sometimes I'm going to take this down so you can see my hands a little bigger. So let's first look at the lay of the land. What does this arrangement look like? And I'll get to the chords in just a minute. But basically, as I said, the song is pretty repetitive and the melody doesn't go a lot of places. It's got a pretty simple structure too. There's sort of a verse, chorus, structure with these la-la-las at the ends of the choruses. You could think of that as part of the chorus if you want. But I sort of think of it as three parts. I think of the verse, which is like the first stanza, the chorus, which is the second stanza there, I've been through the desert, and then the la-la-las I think of as the third stanza. And so those sections just repeat. We've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And there's a little bit of an intro, a little bit of an outro. They're very similar. You could also, of course, change them. You could change anything you want about this arrangement. The strum, for example, on the original song is a little bit different than I teach it. So, you know, you can mix and match your favorite skills from other songs, or make it sound more like the original if you want. But you only need to learn these three small sections. And now we'll talk about the chords. It's good news, too, to know that there are only 2 or 3 chords in this song. And here's why I say 2 or 3, even though there are 4 chords off to the side. There are several ways you could play this song. And a really interesting thing to know is that even though the D6 and the F sharp minor shown here are not the same chord and they don't have the same sound, you could actually swap them for each other in this song, depending on the sound you like. So you can customize this to how you want it to sound. So let's play through these 4 chords and I'll tell you what they're used for. The E minor, you've got that played low or high G, doesn't matter. You could play the 4th fret of your G string, but I usually skip it. That's why it's kind of grayed out in the diagram there. 4th fret C, 3rd fret E, 2nd fret A, E minor. You have an E minor 7, which is the E minor chord with the 7 note, and that's played open G, 2nd fret C, open E, 2nd fret G, A. So play that. Now play them back to back with each other. There's the E minor, there's the E minor 7. I hope you can hear they're not the same. The leading tone I hear on ukulele is a la, and then on the 7 it's a la. So they have a slightly different sound, but in this song I actually find that you could play either one. So it's written for E minor, and I think E minor sounds more true to the original. But if you're a beginner who's having trouble getting back and forth between these shapes, and especially to your E minor shape, you can play it with the E minor 7. And we'll try it that way in a few minutes, just so you can kind of hear how that sounds. The other 2 chords go together in the sense that you could use them both, or you could just choose one or the other. So that, as I said, it can be a 2-chord song or a 3-chord song. The D6 is played as a bar, 2nd fret, all the strings pressed down on the 2nd fret. And you can do that with a bar of 1 finger. You can even put another finger over the top. And I have a whole video on how to make better bar chords if you're interested in that. So either with a bar, or stack your fingers, 1 finger per string, and play it that way. D6. This is called other things in other keys. It could be a B minor 7 in some songs. You know, ukulele has the same shape, sometimes stands in for several chords because we only have 4 strings and we could be playing in lots of different keys. So in this key, that's a D6. Now the other chord is an F sharp minor. It does not sound like the D6. Listen to the D6. Now let's play F sharp minor. Does not sound the same. And if you've never played F sharp minor before, you might notice it's the same shape as G7 if you have played that one. 2nd fret G, 1st fret C, 3rd fret E. I should have said it's the same shape as G7 but not in the same place on the fretboard because it goes 2, 1, 2, 0, but a G7 goes 0, 2, 1, 2. It has an open G string. So with this shape, down here on the G, C, E strings, you're playing an F sharp minor. So again, you've got F sharp minor or D6 or both. I like to play it with all 3 chords, but you could simplify this for yourself and play it with just 2. Pick either E minor or E minor 7, pick either D6 or F sharp minor. And then if you're picking, say, D6, everywhere it says F sharp minor, you'd play a D6. If you're picking F sharp minor, then everywhere it says D6, you'd play an F sharp minor. Does that make sense? I don't have it all written out that way, but you could very easily do that. So let's just play around a little bit. I'm going to do something kind of unusual. I don't usually start playing the song this early, but let's start looking at this song. I'll look at how the chords move from chord to chord in a minute, but I just want you to hear the difference. So let me take the chords off the screen and let me just play it for you. You can play along if you want, but if you're not there yet and you can't change chords as quickly as this, just listen to the difference. So we've got E minor, and I'm going to play it on an island strum, but you could play it different ways. If you don't know island strum yet, that's okay. Just single strum it or hit the beats, or just, again, just listen. Try the difference. This is the way it's written on the page. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. And that's the whole verse. Goes back and forth between those two. And then we get to the chorus. It goes like this, as written on the page. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your pain, your name, 'cause there ain't no one before to give you no pain. La 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 la. So that's as written on the page. Now let's say we want to play the E minor instead. And that would sound like this. On the first part of the journey. You can't even really necessarily hear the difference when you're not listening to them at the same back to back. So let me try. I'll do E minor on the first line, E minor 7 on the second line, so you can kind of hear the difference right next to each other. On the first part of the journey, this is E minor. I was looking at all the life. Here's E minor 7. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. Now what if I wanted to pick one of those? Let's say we're going with E minor 7 because it's easier. And then I want to play the F sharp minor instead of the D6. What would that sound like? So that would sound like this. And again, I'll do the as written on the first line, and then I'll switch to E minor 7 and F sharp minor on the second line. On the first part of the journey, as written, I was looking at all the life. Now making that swap. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. Not the same sound at all, but both work. Now when we get to the chorus, we can show you the same thing. So let's try it with E minor 7 and the D6. We'll make the swap out, but I'll do the first line the regular way. So first line as written on the page, then I'm going to switch to E minor 7 and D6. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. Again, different sound, but both work. So play this one with 2 chords, play this one with 3 chords. Play it with E minor 7 or play it with E minor. But you will need E minor or E minor 7, one of those, and one or both of the other 2 chords. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. But I just want to show you that that's part of the reason I find this one so beginner friendly, even in this key, which is not the easiest key to play this in. More on that in a little bit. The next thing I want to show you is moving from chord to chord. So let's do this with it as written, and then if you decide to make some of these swaps, of course, we can talk about that too. As written, we're going to do a lot of E minor to D6 and a lot of E minor to F sharp minor. And those are really what you got going on in this song. So when we're doing those, we can kind of strategize. And I'm going to leave the chords off the screen for now so you can see my fingers a little bigger. When I play the E minor, and I'm doing my sort of stair step position, I think of it as, and then I'm going to do D6, my index is on the correct fret. I just need to put that whole finger down or move to my stack. I personally find it easier to put the finger down. So I like to go stair step to bar. And again, you can put another finger over the bar if that helps. And keep your thumb behind for a little pinch action. I like to go back and forth like that. Or again, you can swivel and stack. Whichever way you're doing it, it might take a little practice to get that comfortable. So I wouldn't try to play the whole song up to speed till you could move between those two chords and the other, whatever pairing you were using for the verse and the chorus as well. So then the chorus and the la la part is going to be the same. You'll just have a choice to make whether you go D6 or F sharp minor. If you're going in the chorus as written, you're going from the E minor again, stair step, to the F sharp minor. It's all the way over here. So I'm going to take my index, move it to the first fret of the C string, that's your third string, and then put my other two fingers down. So I'm leading with my index finger, and then I'm sort of turning my hand and moving my middle and ring into place. So that's another motion you may need to practice, to go back and forth. It's not easy. Popping into that E minor is just, I remember being a beginner and thinking this will never come naturally to me. And it's still not the easiest chord switch. But with practice and repetition, things definitely get a lot easier. So give yourself time, take it slow at first. And when that's comfortable, you know, you'll have it and that'll be really solid. So that's how it's written. Now let's say you're going to make the swap, and I'll just show you both. Even if you're only going to play one of these chords, I'll show you both swaps and how those work. Well, it's the same way, actually. I don't even have to do that because I just showed you both, right? So if you like this, pick which one you like better if you only want to do it as a two-chord song. Oh, we should do it with the E minor 7 though. So let's try with the E minor 7. E minor 7, going to D6, is more of a turn because you've got two fingers out and you need to put either the bar or all four fingers down. And if you're going to do all four, you need to hop those two fingers that are on strings down so that they're each one string lower. You might like that better if you're playing E minor 7. You might like the 4-string version. And now let's say you're going E minor 7 to F sharp minor. I'm going to inch this index finger back. You're a lot closer to that. It's not as big a hop, but then coming back, you're bringing it forward. So you're leading with this index finger, moving back and forth between 2nd fret and 1st fret of the C string, and then the other fingers need to come into place. So again, whichever you choose, E minor or E minor 7, and whether you choose to do one of the other two chords or both, that's all of the possible combinations. So pick the 2 or 3 you're going to do and practice them till they're really solid, and then you've got half the song already. You just have to figure out how you want to strum it. Not super hard. I'm going to keep playing it like it's written on the page, but I really do encourage you to play it however the chord shapes are sounding best and working best for you. As long as you think it sounds okay. If you don't like any of those substitutions too, I wouldn't, you don't need to do them. They're just ideas that I think sound okay. You could disagree. So now let's talk about what we have suggested for strumming. And this isn't the same as what America did on their guitars. On my arrangement, I've suggested the simple island strum, which a lot of ukulele players learn as one of their first strumming patterns. It is built around 4 beats, so it works for any 4-beat song, although you may not like the sound of it with every 4-beat song, and it can be played more strictly on time or more loosely. In my opinion, this song is a loose occasion because it's not like a regimented marching, like super upbeat, poppy, or rocky song. It's got more of those laid-back vibes to it. So I'm going to not think too strictly about the beats and hitting the beats. It's more of a vibe for this song. So Let's just do it on open strings. I think a lot of people watching this will already know the island strum, but here's how it goes. Down, down, up, down, up. So that's how I approach this song. Just that loose, down, down, up, down, up. You can play the whole song with that. Now you don't know island strum, you can watch a video and learn it, or you could simplify it for yourself, or you can just strum it intuitively. I have a whole video on intuitive strumming too. You do not need to have a strumming pattern, you can play it how you're feeling it. But if you want a strumming pattern and island strum isn't working for you, you could also do down, down ups. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the same amount of time, you could do one island strum. You could do 1, down, up, 2, down, up. It's actually, you would count it 1, down, up, 3, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could hit all 4 beats, like a little rock strum. Or you could hit 1, 2, 3, 1 and 3. So you can simplify that strum for yourself. You can also always play a song just on single strums and just strum where the chord changes. Now the sort of addition that I like to suggest that people make to this, if you're either finding that boring, what I just suggested, and of course again, you can do any variation on island strum. You can start dropping out other downs and ups. There is life after the island strum, as one of my workshop is named. You can add a chuck to it. So if you're not doing a chuck, which is a percussive down strum yet, I have a whole video on that as well, on chucking or chunking, some people call it, tips. But basically it's a percussive down strum where you hit the strings with your strumming finger and your hand at the same time. So instead of you get it both going at the same time, and you get like a clack. That's the chuck. So you should be able to mix that into a strum like the island strum eventually. If you haven't figured this out yet, that's okay. It can come with time. But for example, down, down, chuck, up, down, up. I like that in this song too. Usually I will start with the regular strum, not chucking, and then I will throw in a chuck midway through. I might stop doing the chucking at some point, or I might do not chucking on the verses and chucking on the choruses. You can mix and match, play around with it. That's one of the nice things about a song like this coming up, or any song really, in my play-along jams, is that you can play around with it. There's the one nice thing about online jams. It'd be lovely if we could all be together in person and be sort of learning from and listening with each other. But since we're not able to do that online, we can't all play at the same time and hear each other. The benefit to that is you can experiment with things without worrying they're going to bother somebody if you do something that sounds a little off, because everybody can only hear themselves and me leading the song. So it's a great time to play around with it, to try some troubleshooting and see, okay, how do I want to do this? And you could do other, like there's also a sort of halftime reggae chucking strum, down, down, up, chuck, up, down. I think that would sound cool with this too. That would sound like this. Bend through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of rain. So that would also be a strum you could play with. And we aren't even going to get into picking in this video, but of course you could pick it too if you're liking picking these days and you want to try picking on this. So let's try just single strumming through to get the rhythm for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with this song. And I'll put the chords up on the screen again, and we'll just go through one verse, chorus, la 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 section. We'll do the first one. And also I can show you how the intro works at the same time. The intro and the outro are just slightly different. The intro has 4 beats of each of these chords. E minor, then remember you can do D6, or remember you can, every time I say E minor, you could do E minor 7 if you choose. Then for the D6, you could be doing D6 or F sharp minor. If you prefer one greatly over the other, you can swap those 2 out. So E minor, D6, 4 beats each, just back and forth 2 times. That's different from the outro, where we play each chord, the E minor and then D6 4 times each. So that's 16 beats of E minor, 16 beats of D6, and then a single strum E minor at the end. Not hard by any means. And that outro is actually a little long. Sometimes in a jam it feels like, okay, when's this song going to be over, Jenny? But it's just sort of a fade out kind of an outro. And you're on the dusty desert plains kind of thing. So let's just do the first three sections, which are the only three sections in the song. Verse, chorus, la-la-las, and we'll just do single strums, and we'll do it a little under tempo. We don't need to go super slow because you're only changing every 4 beats. It's not a super fast song either. So let's just try, and I'll sing along, but I'm only going to strum where the chords change. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. Make any of the substitutions. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rains. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la, and then that would repeat. And hi, I see the note over in the chat. Nice, thanks for dropping in. I don't usually have anybody on these lives, so it's fun to see somebody pop up in the chat. It is a great tune. It is a great one. So once you have that down on single strums, it's really easy to advance to another kind of strumming, whether you're doing it intuitively and you're figuring it out for yourself, or whether you've got a particular strumming pattern in mind or you're using one of my suggested ones. So now let me tell you one other interesting thing that can make this song even easier, and I'll tell you why I didn't do it on the page, even though this is in my beginner songbook. We can transpose any song to a different key. And I have a whole series of videos on transposition, which are all free, and they talk about the various reasons you might transpose a song. Sometimes it's to make it easier to play. Sometimes it's to make it easier to sing. Sometimes it is for some combination of those two things. And sometimes it's because maybe you have a baritone versus you have a GCEA tuned ukulele. It can be very, there can be several different reasons to transpose something. And it especially happens when songs are either like too high or too low for me. When I'm leading them in a jam, I might need to transpose them. But whenever I put a song into the songbook, I'm sort of trying to split the difference between ease of playing, especially if it's in the beginner songbook, as opposed to my mixed level songbook, and ease of me leading the song without constantly dropping too low or too high for comfort in my voice. Because what would be ideal is if every song there was like a perfect key that was both easy to play and easy for me to sing. That doesn't happen all the time. So with a song like this, where maybe, and I didn't look up what the original key this was in, so I don't remember where this song started, but I thought this was kind of a good, what would I say, compromise between being able to play it in a jam and thinking other people can follow along, especially given that you can do it as a 3-chord song or a 2-chord song, and you can make that swap between E minor and E minor 7, which also simplifies it, and being able to sing it. What would be even easier to play is if we took this whole song down one step, and I'm going to show you why. And there's lots of ways to transpose, and I'm not actually going to go through that here, but again, I've got that whole transposing video, and I'm just going to write it off to the side here. If we transpose this, then and this is going down one full step, which is the same thing as 2 half steps. E minors would all become D minors. D minor 7 is not easier to play than D minor, so I wouldn't even bother making that swap. I just say, let's play D minor for one of our chords. D6 becomes C6, and you might not know what a C6 is, but C6 is 0, 0, 0, 0. It's the same thing as we sometimes see as A minor 7. It is all open strings, just like, whoop, that's it. So that's not hard. That's much easier to play than a bar chord. And then F sharp minor. Now if we take that down 1 half step, it would become an F minor. And if we take that down 2 steps, it would become an E minor or an E minor 7. So a much easier key to play this in would be to use D minor everywhere you see E minor, to use open strings everywhere you see D6, and to use E minor 7 everywhere you see F sharp minor. And that would sound like this. Let's see if I can do this on the fly since I don't have it written out. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz in the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. Do you hear how low I have to go there? Horse with no name. Now I managed to hit that this time, but I don't know if I can hit that every day. That's kind of at the very bottom of my range. It felt good to be out in the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one going to give you no pain. Another interesting thing is sometimes people's ranges change over time and with or without practice. So I actually have a deeper lower range today than I did a few years ago, in part because I've been working my lower range, trying to get a slightly lower bottom note. So my vocal range is a little lower than it probably was when I made this sheet. I could get away with that now in a jam, and I do have some songs where I have to go that low, and it maybe doesn't sound the best. It's not the perfect key for my voice, but it's a lot easier to play, right? So maybe one day I will redo this chord sheet and put it in an even more beginner-friendly way. Right now we have what we have. I don't have all the time to change every chord sheet the way I would like to. Yes, my Patreon patrons, I'm always promising new updates, and it takes me a while to get to them because I have to do other jobs to pay the rent. But if you were playing this on your own, and whether or not you have a lower voice than me, as long as you can hit that bottom note comfortably, or even maybe you're just playing it and you aren't singing along, you're just singing it in your head or humming it or whistling it, then that would be an easier key to play it in. So feel free to transpose on your own or for your own jam group or something like that. Play it in D minor instead of E minor. Make that E minor 7 swap for the F sharp minor, and then it's even easier. So that's one other option you have. So what I want to suggest we do now, not do a playthrough of the transposed version because it's more brain math to go back and forth even with only a 3-chord song. And I'm sure I would make some mistakes before we got to the end of 3 verses, but I do want to do a couple of playthroughs because that's how I like to end these videos. And then you can let me know in the comments if you're working on this one, how you're liking to play it, what strum do you like to do, and if you have any questions I didn't address, of course, let me know that too. And if you have a request of what song you'd like me to teach this way next month, which is tomorrow, one of the days next month, I will do another one of these. And with these, I also address topics too. So if you'd rather have me talk about a particular technique or something like that, let me know. So let's do 2 playthroughs. I like to do one with the chords on the screen like this, and one with the chords not on the screen, so you can see my hands a little bigger. I'm going to continue to play it as written, but I want you to feel empowered to make whatever swaps you want to make. It's getting dark in here, isn't it? Let me turn on another light before I do this. I had kind of forgotten it would be sunset as I was filming this, so let's turn on my light so we have a little more. That should help. Oh, it's not the lights I like. This one has a couple different. Sorry, there we go, brighter. There's the plant lights. That'll keep us brighter in here. All right, so we're going to do once with the chords on the screen and once with the chords not on the screen. I'll do it a little slower the first time, but again, it's not a fast song, so we don't need to go super slow or super fast in this one. And then you can come back to this and practice along if you want. And feel free to use the icon, the gear icon on the YouTube video. Click on that and you can change your speed. You can make me a lot slower, you can make me a little faster or a lot faster, and practice it that way too. So I'm going to play it as written, but at some point in this one I'm going to throw in a chuck, just for fun. We'll see how it works. Maybe on the first one I will do strumming without chucking on the verses and chucking on the chorus and the la la la's, just for fun. But again, feel free to make the decisions you want to make. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, E minor. Here we go. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. Do that line again. La 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 la. After 2 days in the desert sun, my skin began to turn red. After 3 days in the desert fun, I was looking at a riverbed, and the story it told of a river that flowed made me sad to think it was dead. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. La 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 la. After 9 days, I let the horse run free, 'cause the desert had turned to sea. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The ocean is a desert with its life underground and a perfect disguise above. Under the cities lies a hermit ground, but the humans will give no love. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la. We did this one 4 times. La 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 la. La 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 la. Last one. La 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 la. Here's the outro. 3, 4. Switch to your other chord. 2, 3, 4, and all right. Not bad, not too hard. Hopefully you made any substitutions that were going to make it more playable for you. And now let's play it again. And I'll have the chords off the screen this time. So if it's more helpful for you to see my hands a little bigger, this will be that version for you. Maybe I'll play it with the E minor 7. Why don't I do this? Why don't I make all the substitutions on this one? It wouldn't necessarily make sense to play it this way, but that way if you're making substitutions, I'll be with you part of the time. So I'll play the E minor 7 wherever it says E minor, and then I'll swap out the other 2. Whenever it says D6, I'll play the opposite one. So you can hear, like, they don't sound the same, and it may be that you, like me, prefer the original sound better, but you do have options, and you can make it work with the other chords. So that's what I will do this time. I'll make that swap. So I'm just a little faster. Not too fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if my brain can do this. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The first thing I met was a fly with a I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one more to give you no pain. La 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 After 9 days, I let the horse run free, 'cause the desert had turned into sea. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rings. The ocean is a desert with its life underground and a perfect sky above. Under the cities lies a heart made of ground, but the humans will give no love. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one more to give you no pain. La 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 one more. La 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 la. Switch chords here. And here's the end. A little different sound, right? Still works. So the variation on the strum, and I'm going to write this down in case you're interested, that I did there midway through that one. I just kind of, for fun. Looks like this. Let me show you on the page. I just wrote it out for you. What I did was I dropped the second, oh, come on. There we go. I dropped the second down, so it's up here. I made it so that instead of down, down, up, down, up, I'm playing it on the E minor 7. Down, down, up, down, skip, up, down, skip, up. I'm just skipping that second down. So the first one hangs for an extra beat. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and you're not playing on the second beat anymore. So if you liked that sound, that's what I was doing there. I just did it on a whim, just for fun. So I think that's the end of our tutorial. Hopefully this was helpful and you were able to pick up some ways to approach this song, and whether you're someone who's played it with me a ton of times in play-alongs before or not, hopefully this will give you sort of a new way to approach lots of different songs if you're a beginner, because you can make some of these kinds of substitutions and simplify things for yourself. It's not always going to work, and sometimes you're going to try a different chord and you're going to be like, ooh, that sounds terrible. That is pretty common too. But you can always sort of like see, like if you see a B minor 7 or a B minor, but you'd rather play a B minor 7, like check some of those things out, especially chords that have similar names. See if you can make those swaps for things like that. E minor 7, E minor, that does not always work. So same thing with E and E7. I have a whole video on how to play the dreaded E chord, and you cannot always substitute an E7 for an E. But sometimes you can, sometimes it works. So I'm giving you more permission to even try that. Oh, and great, there's a note here. You love the arrangement and you can't wait to practice this one. Yay! Thanks for popping in and watching some of it live. It is one I'm sure will come up in more of our public play-along jams in 2026, since it was one of the 3 most played ones in 2025. So keep requesting it if you want to keep working on it, and let me know how it's going for you as we move along. Bye, folks. Thanks for being here. I've got another one of these to make today for my Patreon patrons, so hang in there, it's coming. And thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. It's fun to make these, and I always learn something for myself too the more I do these. So have a great rest of your day, folks, whenever you're watching this. See you on the internet.